AITAH for going NC with Mill after she convinced my husband to ask for a paternity test because our baby looks too much like me. Sorry, this is going to be a long one. And I apologize in advance for any spelling mistakes. English isn't my first language. 4 months ago, me, 31F, and my husband, Mark, 32M, welcomed our first child, our daughter, Sophia. Me and Mark have been together for 10 years and married 6 years. Getting pregnant wasn't exactly a walk in the park. We were trying for 2 years before it finally happened, and I miscarried 4 times during those years. My parents died when I was 15, and I lived with my grandparents until I was 18 and started at college. My Mill has been like a mother to me and had been an amazing support ever since me and Mark got together. She made dinners and called daily to check up on me after the miscarriages. When Sophia was born, the first thing Mill did when she came to visit was to check up on how I was doing after the birth before focusing on Sophia. I remember thinking I had the best Mill anyone could ask for. She was the first person we told about our pregnancy at week 18, and she was over the moon about becoming a grandma. The first 4 weeks after we got home from the hospital, she moved in with us to help out with Sophia. She was so helpful and always made sure she didn't overstep in any way. My Mill always talked about how Sophia was a mini version of me, and told everyone about how my daughter was a true copy of me. Mark was in love with our little girl and did everything he could to help out. He came home early every day to spend as much time as he could with Sophia and me. Everything seemed perfect. This was what we had wanted for so long. All he could talk about was how perfect our little girl was, and how much she looked like me. He even found some old pictures of me and made a photo collage of me and her as babies to put on the wall. After my Mill moved home, I think I saw her a couple of times and would only speak to her if I called her. But TBH, I didn't think much of it, as I was busy with being a mother. After the first 2 months, Mark started getting more distant and coming home late. He started to spend a lot of time at his mother's house as he said she needed help with some renovations in her house. I appreciated all the help Mill had given us, so I decided to not complain about it, even though I was exhausted from never getting an hour to myself anymore. Right after Sophia turned 3 months, Mark came home and said we needed to talk. He sat me down and told me he wanted a paternity test because his mother thinks our child looked too much like me and nothing like him. My jaw was on the floor and I felt something inside me break. He doubled down with saying he agreed with Sophia looking like me and nothing like him, and that Mill had told him I probably cheated with someone who has some of the same features as me. Mill claims that their family genes are super strong and Sophia should have some of Mark's features if she was his. After he was done talking, I couldn't get a word out. I just started crying. It feels like the biggest betrayal that they both accuse me of cheating, and the reason being my daughter looks too much like me. He told me he was sorry, but his mother got into his head and he couldn't let it go, and it was constantly on his mind. I just felt defeated by the whole situation and agreed to the paternity test. Although I told him that when the test came back telling Sophia is his daughter, I wanted nothing to do with Mill, and we would have to start couple counseling if there was any hope at all for this relationship to be saved. Fast forward to now, the test came back a week ago, and surprise, surprise, she is his daughter. He had this look of relief before the guilt and panic hit him, and he started to apologize to me over and over again. I told him he needed to tell his mother and then tell her we needed a break from her. Surprisingly, he was all for it, and I could hear him yelling at her for making him doubt me and telling her we didn't want any contact for a while. Mark blocked her number after hanging up, so she started to call and text me. It switched from that she was sorry, and I was a horrible for not seeing it from her point of view and taking away her family. I blocked her too, but some of his extended family has messaged both Mark and me calling us cold-hearted for cutting Mill out the way we have. I have started to doubt my decision, thinking I was too harsh after being hurt. Maybe I made a mistake by distancing ourselves from Mill. After all, she was just looking out for her only son. Edit, I'm so overwhelmed by all the support. Thank you to everyone who took the time to answer. I see a lot of you guys are coming for my husband, and trust me, I get it. I failed to mention that his last long-term relationship ended because his ex cheated at him. His mother also divorced his father due to infidelity. That doesn't make it okay, but that's the reason I didn't hand him divorce papers the second he asked for a paternity test. I know he has a lot of trust issues, and so does his mother. He has been in therapy before because of his issues and has contacted his psychiatrist and gonna start up therapy again, and we are also going to our first couple counseling later this week. Update, I'm still overwhelmed with all the support and feedback my last post got. I spent a lot of time reading through comments and the messages people sent me. Since I'm still getting messages asking about my situation, I felt like I should make an update for those who still cares. So buckle up. First of all, a lot of you were saying I should have given my husband divorce papers along with the result of the paternity test. If it wasn't for his past, I would have done it. That being said, he has been my rock during the circus our life has become. Like a lot of you did foresee, my Mill did not react well to us going NC with her. She told his whole family that I made my husband going NC with her because I was jealous of their close bond. She told them I had threatened him with kidnapping and drowning our daughter. His family blew up my phone with calls and nasty messages. It got so bad that I had to change my number and deactivate my FB account. 5 weeks ago, Child Protective Services came to our house after getting an anonymous tips about me physically abusing Sophia. We got cleared quick, but I was so overwhelmed and drained after all of this. Me and my husband agreed that I would take Sophia with me and visit my friend for a week. He stayed at home and did everything in his power trying to inform his relatives of the real story. Several of his family members were mortified and flabbergasted about the whole situation. Most of them did try to apologize. I wish I could say that that was the end of it, but this was only the start. The day after I left to visit my friend, my Mill came to our house. She was banging at the door, screaming for us to let her in, and that I couldn't keep her grandchild and her son away from her. My husband was at work, so we both saw the whole thing through our security camera. She stayed outside our house for about an hour and only left because our neighbor threatened to call the cops. My husband called the cops later that day trying to report his mother, but was told she hadn't really done anything wrong, and since she wasn't posing a threat, they couldn't do anything. That was until 2 days later. My husband woke up to noises from Sophia's room, and then a scream and the sound of a door being slammed open. From what he told me, he jumped out of bed, running to the bedroom door to lock it, while he called the cops. Seconds after he locked the door, his mother started to pull the door, hitting and kicking it while screaming that we couldn't keep her away from her grandchild. She screamed that no matter what, she was going to get Sophia. The cops arrived while she was still kicking and screaming, and she was arrested for breaking in and threatening our family. She had used her spare key to lock herself in. My husband and the police thinks that she tried to kidnap Sophia. Saying I was scared out of my mind is an understatement. I had a full-blown panic attack when my husband called me about it. We hadn't told anyone where I was, so my husband asked me to stay put at my friend's house and not come home. He would try to figure out what to do. Later that week, we agreed that we should move, go NC with his family, and keep our address hidden. My husband talked with his boss, and he explained the situation and was offered to move city and got a couple of weeks of so we could have some time to find somewhere to live and get everything in order. At the moment, our old house is out for sale. We have moved to another city, and we are trying to make this new house our home and putting our life back together piece by piece. Right now, my life feels like a really bad movie, and I still can't understand how my life got turned upside down so fast, and why my Mill snapped. We are both seeing a therapist. My panic attacks are still pretty bad, and probably will be for a while. We are mourning the life we had. We are both trying to heal and do everything we can to make life as normal as possible for our daughter Sake.